Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. If you keep blowing it up, I'll be truly invincible. Chapter 81. Brother Su, Xuanmingzong Ji Yu Xuanyan is narrow-minded, and Yazi must report it. Today you have formed a relationship with him, and you must be careful when you go to the 100 Demons battlefield in the future. The green-robed man took a sip of the spirit wine and sent a voice transmission to Su Chen. After a pause, the green-robed man continued. Situ Feng of the Promise sect seems to be a bit unkind to senior brother Su Chen, so we must guard against it. Hearing this, Su Chen nodded lightly, and also replied via voice transmission, "Thank you fellow Taoist for reminding me." In the following time, the entire banquet re-entered the previous harmonious atmosphere after experiencing the episode just now. Su Chen had a good chat with the man in green robe next to him, and by the way, he learned the name of the other party, Lin Zan. Between the toasts and cups, time passed slowly, and the banquet was drawing to a close. The eldest prince seated at the top had deep eyes and a calm expression. After taking a sip of the spirit wine, a jade pendant appeared in his palm, and his eyes slowly fell on Su Chen, who was talking with Lin Zan. He was about to speak. But at this moment, two Taoist figures suddenly stumbled in from outside. Seeing this, the eldest prince frowned slightly, and looked at the intruder with some displeasure, and then glanced at Su Chen and Situ Feng who were at the banquet, shook his hand, and took back the jade pendant in his hand. At the same time, a playful look of interest rose in his eyes. The moment he put away the jade pendant, two Taoist figures entered the great hall almost at the same time. A disciple dressed in Wu Zhizong's costume, the moment he saw Situ Feng, he wailed and said, "Eldest brother, you must uphold justice for us." As soon as these words came out, the attention of everyone in the great hall was instantly attracted. Even Su Chen couldn't help looking at Situ Feng's position at this moment. But in the next second, he found another person who came in at the same time as the Promise sect disciple, wearing Tai Zan sect costume. For a moment, countless thoughts flashed through Su Chen's mind, as if he had thought of something. His expression suddenly became weird. The Tai Zan sect disciple glanced around the great hall, and when he saw Su Chen, there was a flash of excitement in his eyes. I don't know that he didn't yell, but walked quickly to Su Chen. After cupping his hands and saluting, he used the technique of sound transmission to inform Su Chen of all the ins and outs. "So that's the case, I know. I have everything here, you go back first." Hearing this, Su Chen nodded slightly and spoke. "Thank you, brother Su Chen." After receiving Su Chen's response, that Tai Zan sect disciple finally let go of his hanging heart. After bowing and saluting respectfully, he quickly left here. What happened? The other side. Situ Feng put down the wine glass in his hand, glanced at the Tai Zan sect disciples who were leaving, and said with a displeased expression, "Brother, a quarter of an hour ago, several of our Promise sect juniors were injured by a Tai Zan sect disciple named Mu Qingshe." The Promise sect disciple said with a face full of grief and indignation. "It's really a wave of ups and downs, and a wave is rising again." In the great hall, someone said with a chuckle, as if watching a good show. The previous conflict between Ji Yu Xuanyan and Su Chen was mainly at Ji Yu Xuanyan's fault. After all, he was the one who spoke out behind Su Chen's back and made fun of others at will. If Ji Yu Xuanyan really made a move an hour ago, even if Su Chen beat him into a crippled Xuanmingzong, he wouldn't be able to say much. But now it's different. This time Tai Xuanzong became the unreasonable party. A disciple of Tai Xuanzong shot and wounded a disciple of Wu Zhizong first, and Tai Xuanzong had always been at odds with Wu Zhizong. This is great fun. The Promise sect came this time with their sect's strongest lineage of beast masters. Everyone in the world knows that the strongest lineage of the Wuji sect is the beast. But right now, everyone is in Wangji City, and the disciples of the Promise sect cannot use demonic beasts to help out. In this way, their combat power is equivalent to being weakened by half. Even if you disciples of the Tai Zan sect defeat the disciples of the Wuji sect, you are still taking advantage of others. Isn't Tai Xuanzong's style too domineering? Situ Feng said slowly. His voice was very peaceful, but anyone could hear the anger in his tone. As Situ Feng's words fell, his eyes also fell on Su Chen, and he slowly said, "I don't know what Su fellow Taoist thinks about this matter. Is this going to ask the teacher to ask the crime?" When everyone heard this, their expressions were shocked, and they all looked at Su Chen. At this moment, even the first prince and the ninth princess sitting above did not speak to stop them. After all, right now, Su Chen and Situ Feng have no signs of making a move, and they seem a little too partial to Su Chen when they speak rashly, which will definitely arouse dissatisfaction from everyone. The Promise sect's actions today are indeed a bit excessive. Su Chen casually drank a glass of wine and spoke eloquently. As soon as these words came out, everyone hadn't reacted for a while. What's the situation? Shouldn't it be the Promise sect? Xingxi asking the crime now. Why did Tai Xuanzong become the victim when Su Chen opened his mouth? And the Promise sect has become the party who deliberately provokes. Su, fellow Taoist, is this a joke? When Situ Feng heard this, his face suddenly turned cold, his eyes were serious, and his tone was cold. It was obvious that the one who was injured was his junior brother, but when it came to Su Chen's mouth, he planned to turn black and white. This is simply not to put our Promise sect to put in one's eyes. I'm not a joker. Su Chen shook his head lightly, looked at the Promise sect disciple who just came in, and said lightly. You just said that Mu Qingshe injured several disciples of your Wuji sect, but why didn't you say why Mu Qingshe did it? The Promise sect disciple was at a loss for words. He secretly glanced at Situ Feng, suddenly gained courage, and said in a deep voice. The cause of the incident was that a senior brother of our Wuji sect fell in love with a black stone. The senior brother originally planned to buy it, but Namu Qingshe relied on his high cultivation base, not only injured several senior brothers, but also forcibly bought it. That rock. Oh, is that so? Su Chen chuckled, and said indifferently. Why do I hear the exact opposite of what you said? Could it be that the disciples of your Promise sect took a fancy to Mu Qingshui's appearance and planned to grab the stone in her hand by force to satisfy some of your desires? And you just said that Mu Qingshe relied on cultivation base to be strong. I'm afraid you forgot, Mu Qingshe is only Qi Si Realm 3rd stage, and those of you Wuji sect who were injured, if I remember correctly, should all be Qi the strength of the Si Realm 4th stage. Hearing Su Chen's words, everyone in the Great Hall couldn't hold back. Although most of the disciples of the Wuji sect's lineage of beast masters are on demonic beasts, their own strength is not too weak. Now several Qi Si Realm 4th stage disciples teamed up, but in the end they couldn't beat a Qi Si Realm 3rd stage disciple. If this gets out, I'm afraid the Wuji sect will be completely reduced to a laughing stock. At the same time, they also took a deep look at Su Chen. Now Su Chen's talent is already terrifying, but Tai Xuanzong seems to have another genius growing up. If both of them grow up together, then Tai Xuanzong's future strength will be terrifying. No matter what the process is, the people who are injured now are the juniors of my Promise sect. This is an indisputable fact. Situ Feng was unmoved. He looked at Su Chen and spoke slowly, with no doubt in his tone. Give Namu Qingshe to the Promise sect, and I can pretend that what happened today never happened. Boom. As his words fell, a terrifying aura emanated from the surroundings, which was as vast as a vast ocean, which made the many arrogances present feel oppressed for a while. Situ Feng is worthy of being the #1 pride of the Promise sect. Even if he didn't summon demonic beasts, once he did it, his own strength alone was enough to make everyone look at him. If there were demonic beasts to help, I am afraid that many people present would not be Situ Feng's opponents. Su Chen, hand it over. Do you think you can protect that disciple? At this moment, the voice of Xuanmingzong Ji Yu Xuanyan came. There was a sneer on the corner of his mouth, and he looked at Su Chen proudly. He asked himself, he was no match for Su Chen. But the situation is different now, with Situ Feng from the Wuji sect rushing to the front, he doesn't mind taking this opportunity to make things worse. He really wants to see how Su Chen will end up today. The first prince and the ninth princess also watched this scene with great interest. The 9 princesses frowned slightly. She wanted to stop it, but was blocked by an inexplicable force. Her dark eyes looked to one side, and the figure in the pale gold robe who was concentrating on drinking, snorted coldly. This mansion is her territory. If these 2 celestial beings really made a move here today, it might not have any effect on his eldest prince. But for her, the 9th princess, it was different. If she couldn't even grasp this small scene, what face would she have to compete for the position of Emperor of Great Chu? The truth of the matter has not yet been found out. Brother Situ asked Brother Su to fight. Isn't it a bit too arbitrary? Lin Zan of Spirit Sword Sect spoke slowly. Their Spirit Sword Sect had always been on good terms with Tai Xuanzong, so it was no surprise that he spoke for Su Chen on this occasion. But in the next second, Situ Feng glanced at him lightly and said, "The Promise Sect disciple was injured, this is the truth." As soon as the words came out, even the good-tempered Lin Zan couldn't help but change his face. This Situ Feng is a bit too domineering. If Tai Xuanzong really turns to someone, I'm afraid that disciple named Mu Qingshe will be in trouble. Falling into the hands of the hostile sect, the end is very miserable. If you can save a small life, it is a blessing from God. Hee hee. At this moment, a light laughter came. After hearing this, everyone in the Great Hall looked at Su Chen. Feeling everyone's eyes, Su Chen didn't take it seriously, and said lightly as before. Su also happened to have a message for you. Hand over the disciples of the Promise Sect, and I can let the past go. As soon as the words came out, everyone in the Great Hall turned into petrification, staring at Su Chen dumbfounded. They thought that Su Chen would smooth things over and make amends, so the matter passed like this. But they didn't expect that Su Chen would hold on tightly. Not only did he show no signs of softening, but instead he opened his mouth to the important person of the Wuji sect. This simply exceeded everyone's expectations. 100 Monster Battlefield and his party, I'm afraid it will be very lively. Everyone glanced at each other, and they all understood each other's thoughts at this moment. Before entering the 100 Demons battlefield, the two leaders of Tai Xuanzong and Wu Zhizong clashed. If this enters the battlefield of 100 monsters, God knows how far the two of them will fight. Maybe these two sects will be completely eliminated on the first day they enter the 100 monsters battlefield. If they are eliminated on the first day, no matter which sect it is, I am afraid that they will be completely reduced to the laughingstock of other sects from now on. Thinking of this, the many geniuses present couldn't help but look forward to it. After all, Su Chen and Situ Feng are not weak. The two forces have never confronted each other, and they really want to see the two fight against each other. One holds mighty demonic beasts in his hands, while the other holds talent heaven defying. Anyone who faces them will lose more than win, and only the two at the top of the field can suppress them. If these two people really fight, no matter who is eliminated, the other person will be seriously injured. At that time, their chance will come. Very good. Situ Feng uttered two words coldly, stood up slowly, stared at Su Chen, and said, "You're fine, you managed to piss me off." As the voice fell, the void trembled. Runes mixed with dark golden brilliance appeared one after another, circulating around his body, containing a terrifying aura of wildness. Like a peerless ferocious beast, it wants to choose someone to devour. The faces of many Tianzhou present just felt this terrifying breath, and their faces changed suddenly, and their bodies involuntarily took a few steps toward retreat. Because they felt the ancient Chongqi Qi in this terrifying aura. Ancient Chongqi, that is an ancient beast. In the ancient times, even the great emperor of the human race may not be the opponent of the ancient poor. Although the beast contracted by Situ Feng now has only a trace of bloodline, it is not something ordinary people can resist. Annoy you, so what? Su Chen said with a flat expression. It seemed that he didn't feel the breath emanating from him. But it was this plain sentence that was like a mountain pressing down on everyone's hearts, making their breathing difficult. Brother Su's strength seems to have exceeded everyone's expectations. Lin Zan beside him took a deep look at Su Chen. Among the people present, except for the two who were at the top, everyone else was startled after sensing the Chongqi, an ancient fierce beast. Only Su Chen looked normal, as if Situ Feng was nothing to him at all, just a small character who could be easily defeated. Facing a powerful enemy, he can still be so calm and calm. Either he has strong confidence in his own strength, or he is a fool. And Su Chen, obviously, he is the former. Dare to go outside the city. Situ Feng glanced at Su Chen lightly. He wanted to invite Su Chen to make a stop outside the city. But before he could say the last word, a genius beside him interrupted him, tugged at his robe lightly, and shook his head slightly. Seeing this, Situ Feng glanced coldly at everyone present. The already cold eyes became even colder. Almost everyone in the field looked like they were watching the show. If I fight Su Chen today, let alone whether I can take advantage of it, but I will definitely expose one or two of my own cards. Thinking of this, He snorted coldly, looked at Su Chen with a bad expression, and said coldly, I, Situ Feng, will remember what happened today. During the competition tomorrow, don't blame me for being ruthless. There are still a few days before the 100 Monsters battlefield will officially open. But the selection of places to enter the 100 Monsters battlefield will officially kick off tomorrow. Although these team leaders will not go up to the stage to participate in the competition, but the other disciples below will definitely go up to the competition. The meaning of Situ Feng's words is also very obvious. If the disciples of the Wuji sect face the disciples of the Shang Taizan sect, they will definitely use all their strength and will not hold back. At that time, although the disciples on both sides will not die, it is inevitable to seriously injure a few. If one accidentally doesn't keep his hand, it is reasonable to abolish the opponent's cultivation base. After uttering a harsh word, Situ Feng didn't wait for Su Chen to respond. He cupped his hands slightly towards the two figures at the top, and waved his sleeves away. He doesn't want to make wedding dresses for these people in the field. Seeing Situ Feng leaving, many other Tianjiao also lost interest, got up and began to say goodbye and leave. Su, fellow Taoist, I am very much looking forward to your performance in the 100 Demons battlefield. Just when Su Chen was drinking by himself, a tall man in a light golden robe suddenly appeared in front of him. Every inch of flesh and blood on his body was shining with a dark golden light, like a walking sun. Anyone will be eclipsed in front of him. The eldest prince seems to have great confidence in me. Hearing this, Su Chen raised his head and glanced at the other party, and said calmly, I've seen people very well in my life, and I believe you won't let me down. This jade pendant will be given to Su, fellow Taoist, today. If you need anything, feel free to use this jade pendant to find me. The voice fell. A jade pendant appeared in the palm of the first prince, and he placed it on the table. Then, regardless of Su Chen's expression, he turned and left. Looking at the scene in front of him, Su Chen couldn't help shaking his head. Looking at the back of the eldest prince leaving, he said softly, Am I being recruited? To be honest, if it wasn't for Ji Yu Xuanyan and Situ Feng's deliberate provocation today, he wouldn't be so high profile at all. It's all right now, I didn't eat much at this banquet, and this trouble caused a lot of people. However, these troubles are really nothing to him. If Situ Feng insisted on targeting Tai Xuanzong, he wouldn't mind dealing with him on the 100 Demons battlefield. After all, when he just crossed over, he was poisoned in his body, and it was the Wuji sect who almost died. In addition, Wu Zhizong and Tai Xuanzong had enmity. If Su Chen can deal with Situ Feng in the 100 Demons battlefield, maybe sect will reward him. However, the only thing that gave him a headache now was the jade pendant that the eldest prince had just left behind. He had promised Van Elder not to stand in line at will. Now, what's the matter with accepting this jade medal? As everyone knows, at this moment, the jade pendant he discarded like a shoe, falls into the eyes of the other Tianjiao who have not yet left, but they are extremely envious. That is the eldest prince's jade pendant. With this thing, even walking sideways in the entire Wangji city is no problem. And, just now the eldest prince gave Su Chen a jade pendant, but he didn't express anything to Situ Feng. Doesn't this mean that the eldest prince doesn't like Situ Feng at all? Thinking of this, the hearts of many Tianjiao who have not left yet tremble. For a moment, they regarded Su Chen as the biggest enemy in this 100 Demons battlefield in their hearts. With the episode where the eldest prince gave the jade pendant, the other Tianjiao all left the Great Hall with their own concerns. Soon, there are only 2 people left in the Great Hall. The 9th princess of Great Chu sat high on the top, her blue hair fluttering, and each one was crystal clear. Her eyes are deep and vast, like stars flickering, making it impossible to guess her thoughts. The others have already left. Why hasn't Su, fellow Taoist, left? Looking down at Su Chen, who was pouring wine by himself, Princess Nine finally lost her composure and asked. To be honest, Su Chen's potential may not be seen among the top talents at the same level. But she and the first prince could still see something. The aura on Su Chen's body was more than a little stronger than the others. Originally, she also really wanted to recruit Su Chen. It's a pity that her strength is a little bit weaker, and she was suppressed by the first prince without showing any emotion just now, so she can only watch helplessly as the first prince dropped the jade pendant on Su Chen. With the lessons learned from Yu Pei, the ninth princess has basically given up hope of recruiting Su Chen. After all, looking at the entire Great Chu dynasty, who doesn't know that the first prince is stronger than her, the ninth princess, in every way? With the eldest prince in the background, it is estimated that no one would be willing to switch to her sect. I'm a little hungry and want to eat something. Is your highness going to see off guests? Su Chen casually picked up a piece of pastry and stuffed it into his mouth, took another sip of the spirit wine, and said vaguely, "No and no." The nine princesses looked at Su Chen's eating appearance, and secretly smiled inwardly, then shook her head lightly, parted her red lips, and said, "I'm just thinking about Su, fellow Taoist. If you stay here for too long, I'm afraid that my royal brother will misunderstand. You should understand that if my imperial brother misunderstands you, it will not do you any good. Thank you, your highness, for thinking of me." Su Chen put down the wine glass in his hand, and slightly cupped hands towards Princess Nine with a serious expression. In performance, he is thanking him. But in fact, he didn't intend to get up and leave. He picked up a bunch of grapes from the table in front of him again and ate them on his own, as if he planned to stay here forever. Such behavior fell into the eyes of the nine princesses, and it was very confusing. Could it be that you want to rely on me? An idea popped up involuntarily in Princess Nine's mind. To be honest, she and the eldest prince have been fighting openly and secretly for so many years. But every time she was suppressed by the eldest prince, it would be impossible for her to say that she didn't have any anger in her heart. But no matter how strong the anger in her heart is, there is nothing she can do about owning that imperial brother. Because, the force behind her is a devil Dao sect. Before she has fully grasped the Great Chu dynasty, she must not expose it. If it is exposed, I am afraid that even her father will not be able to tolerate her one. But just when no one was optimistic about him, Su Chen of Tai Xuanzong showed some intention of taking refuge. This made her cold heart feel warm. No matter what, there are still a few people in this world who can see that they have the potential to become the Empress of Chu in the future. Su, fellow Taoist, there are only you and me here, why don't you just speak up if you have anything to say? The nine princesses are extremely beautiful. At this moment, her dark beautiful eyes were staring at Su Chen, trying to get the information she wanted from him. Everything just now was just a fantasy in her heart. After all, it is not true, everything has to be said by Su Chen himself. Since His Royal Highness said so, then Su will not be fooled. Su Chen poured another glass of spiritual wine, drank it down, and put down the glass in his hand. He flipped his palm, and a crystal-clear jade bottle suddenly appeared in his palm. Seeing this jade bottle, Princess Ju frowned slightly, looked at Su Chen strangely, and said, "Su, fellow Taoist, you are Earth Spiritual Milk." Su Chen spoke concisely and slowly spit out 4 words. Earth Spiritual Milk. The ninth princess's heart moved, and there was a huge wave in the depths of her heart. Plain jade fingers tightly gripped the armrests on both sides, and her delicate body straightened a bit. But on the surface, it was still calm. Su, fellow Taoist, is taking out the ground spiritual milk liquid at this moment. Is it to show off the strong financial resources of your Taizan sect? Ninth princess glanced at the spiritual milk and said calmly, "Earth spiritual milk is very precious. Looking at the entire Great Chu royal family, there is not much spiritual milk. Even if she is the ninth princess of the Great Chu dynasty, it is difficult to get the spiritual milk from the Great Chu emperor." Now, Su Chen suddenly took out the ground spiritual milk, and the nine princesses couldn't help thinking about it. Right now, she happens to have a martial skill stuck in the most critical place, and she is in desperate need of spiritual milk. But Su Chen just took it out. Is he showing his loyalty again? To know. Just now the first prince used a jade pendant to attract him, but Su Chen didn't even take out the ground spiritual milk. On the contrary, Su Chen took out the ground spiritual milk because he didn't pay anything. If it was said that the other party had no intention of giving it to her, she would never believe it. After all, no one would be so stupid as to take out the spiritual milk liquid in front of the 9 princesses of the Great Chu dynasty to show off. Princess Ninth is worrying too much. Su is not a boring person. Su Chen casually threw the jade bottle containing the earth spiritual milk to Princess Nine, drank another glass of spiritual wine and said, "Su just thinks that cannibalism is short-sighted and soft-hearted. This is today's meal money. Oh, the 9 princesses stretched out their slender hands, and firmly caught the jade bottle, and divine sense stretched out. There is no doubt that the jade bottle is indeed Earth's spiritual milk. This made her look at Su Chen with a touch of gentleness. Anyone who gets a bottle of Earth's spiritual milk liquid for nothing may not be able to bear ill will towards the person who gave it. I just don't know how the 9 princesses would feel if Su Chen used the spiritual milk directly in the bucket. The 9th princess casually put the ground spiritual milk liquid aside, and said slowly, "How does Su fellow Taoist know that I hosted the banquet?" Intuition. Su Chen responded lightly. Naturally, he gave this small bottle of Earth spiritual milk to the 9th princess not because he ate the food here. His intuition told him that the 9 princesses might be able to help him a lot in the future. Hee. 9th princess chuckled lightly and didn't say much. At this moment, she had decided that Su Chen should be on her side. Otherwise, why give yourself spiritual milk? After all, she and Su Chen just met each other once. Even if she has the identity of the 9th princess of Chu, she doesn't think she can use this identity to get a small bottle of Earth spiritual milk from a person she met for the first time. After pondering for a moment, the 9th princess turned over her jade hand, and a bronze-colored token appeared in her palm. She stroked the token lightly, then threw it towards Su Chen with gritted teeth, saying, "I'm not a stingy person either. If you give me a bottle of Earth spiritual milk today, I'll give you a token too. Before, the jade pendant my brother gave you can protect you from running wild in this Wangji city. Although my token cannot be used in Wangji city, as long as you go outside Wangji city, no matter where you are, as long as you activate the token, someone strong will show up to help you." Oh, Su Chen's eyes lit up suddenly when he heard this. He reached out to take the token and looked it over carefully. The whole body of this token is bronze-colored. It is unknown what material it is made of. Its tentacles are cold, and a crescent moon and several stars are encircled on it. It looks extremely mysterious. A surprise. Su Chen put the token into the storage ring, slightly cupped his hands towards the 9th princess, and said, "Su Mo, thank you 9th princess. It's getting late now, Su will take his leave first." Say it. Su Chen got up and walked outside the great hall. Su fellow Taoist walked slowly. 9th princess stood up and said with a smile, "This attitude is already very polite to Su Chen." The majestic 9 princesses of Chu got up and saw them off, but ordinary Tianzhou did not have this kind of treatment. Now, from Princess 9's point of view, Su Chen deserves such treatment. Because Su Chen was the first person who was not recruited by her, but took the initiative to seek refuge. Coupled with Su Chen's unparalleled talent, he has stepped into a taboo realm in the Qi-gathering realm. Such a talent, the future achievements must not be underestimated. What happened recently? First, a mysterious person took the initiative to come to the door with Shen Hayden, and then Su Chen, the arrogance of the Taizan sect, offered me a bottle of Earth spiritual milk. The 9th princess looked back, and looked at the jade bottle next to her. A touch of excitement appeared in her dark eyes. "It seems that I am indeed, as sect elder said, a person with great luck. With such good luck, my big emperor brother, how can you be my opponent?" But having said that, that mysterious person came to the door with Shen Hayden, and wanted to exchange a place with me to enter the 100 monsters battlefield, so I should give her an answer right now. Deep in the palace, in a secret room, a figure bathed in divine light sits in lotus position. She seemed to be silently cultivating, with real dragons all over her body soaring into the air, and white tigers stepping on the ground, all very different. Therefore, the whole secret room is covered with a layer of mysterious brilliance. There are 2 black figures behind her, motionless, without any breath, as if 2 shadows are quietly guarding the side. Boom boom boom. Just then, there was a knock on the door. The figure who was originally cultivating suddenly opened his eyes, and his bright eyes shone like purple lightning in the entire secret room. "Please come in." A very neutral voice came out, making it impossible to identify the specific gender. Crackling. The door of the secret room was pushed open. The 9 princesses' long dresses dragged the floor, graceful and graceful, like a fairy in the moon palace slowly walking into a secret room. Her dark beautiful eyes glanced lightly at the figure sitting in the secret room, with a search in her eyes. It has been some time since the other party came to her house. But to this day, she still can't see the details of the other party. She doesn't even know whether the other party is a man or a woman, what he looks like, or what his cultivation base is. The only thing he knew was that the other party claimed to be the descendant of the ancient heavenly puppet sect, and had a Shanghai pill in his hand, and planned to make a deal with her. Ninth Princess, how are you thinking? The figure sitting in the secret room in the lotus position also looked at the ninth princess, and asked slowly. The battlefield of 100 monsters is not so easy to enter. First of all, your age must be under 23. If it exceeds this age range, it will be detected by the formation at the entrance of the secret realm. Even I can't force my way into the 100 demons battlefield. The 9 princesses looked at the black figure in front of them and said meaningfully. She was already over 23 years old, so it was naturally impossible for her to enter the 100 demons battlefield. The reason why she chose to say this was just to collect some information about the person in front of her. I won't bother the 9th princess with this. The black figure said lightly. The words were full of strong self-confidence, as if the 100-demon battlefield of the great Chu royal family was nothing to her. Oh, is it so? 9th princess covered her mouth and smiled lightly, a gleam flashed in the depths of her eyes. If nothing else, the age of the person in front of him should be no more than 23 years old, so he can be regarded as the arrogance of the younger generation. However, what is the purpose of the opponent entering the 100 monsters battlefield? The 100 demons battlefield is very large, like a minor world. How many good things are there? Even the 9th princess of the great Chu dynasty does not know. What do you need? You might as well just say it. Maybe I can get it for you in advance. After all, my great Chu dynasty ruled all nations, and the world is rich. The most indispensable thing in the national treasury is exotic treasure. Why should a fellow Taoist take the risk to enter the battlefield of 100 monsters? 9th princess, it's just a deal between you and me. But you seem to be talking too much today. The black figure spoke in a cold tone. Okay, I see. The smile on the pretty face of the 9th princess instantly dissipated, replaced by endless coldness, like an iceberg beauty, whose indescribable aura made people unable to look directly at her. She squinted with dark eyes, and said lightly, since fellow Taoists have said so, let's talk about business. I've always said that, as long as you let me enter the 100 monsters battlefield, and when I come out, Shen Hayden will naturally offer it with both hands. The hazy figure didn't have the slightest ups and downs in his tone, as if he was talking about an unimportant matter. She and Princess Nine don't trust each other. If you give Shen Hayden to the other party at this moment, God knows if the other party will turn his face and deny him. If when the time comes, he really turns his face and refuses to recognize anyone, and prevents him from entering the battlefield of 100 monsters, then he will have nothing to do with her. After all, behind the 9 princesses is not only the great Chu dynasty, but also a demon sect that looks at the top power in the eastern wasteland. Either one is not something she can provoke now. Hee. The 9th princess sneered when she heard the words, a cold light flashed in her dark eyes, and said in an indifferent voice. The fellow Taoist is a bit too confident, right? Do you think the 100 demons battlefield is really that safe? Leaving aside the arrogance of each sect, there are countless demonic beasts in the 100 demons battlefield. If you fall inside, then I won't get anything. Don't blame me for not reminding you. As long as you enter the 100 demons battlefield, the 2 puppets behind you will lose their use. As the 9th princess said, her dark eyes coldly glanced at the 2 puppets behind the mysterious figure. Although she couldn't see the strength of the person in front of her clearly, the existence of those 2 people in black robes couldn't hide from her investigation at all. The other party was obviously not a living person, but 2 puppets of the divine sea realm. Reminiscent of the other party's claim to be the descendant of the ancient heavenly puppet sect, everything seems so natural, and there is nothing wrong with it at all. Even the 9th princess, at this moment, believes that the other party is the descendant of the ancient heavenly puppet sect. What do the 9 princesses think? The mysterious figure spoke again. Give me the Shanghai pill, and I will naturally send you into the battlefield of 100 monsters. No, absolutely not. As soon as the 9th princess finished speaking, she was directly rejected by the other party. This is her bottom line. In any case, it is impossible to let go. If you hand over Shen Hayden at this moment, then On's future will really be out of control. There are many ways to improve your strength. Don't you think that I have no other way without that Shanghai pill? Breakthrough Divine Sea Realm is the best way, but I can also choose to practice martial skill. Ninth princess chuckled lightly. As her words fell, a jade bottle suddenly appeared in her palm. Bursts of strange fragrance came out of the jade bottle, which made people's minds startled. Earth spiritual milk. The figure in the black robe spoke in surprise. According to the memory of her previous life, she doesn't remember that the ninth princess has the spiritual milk liquid. Why did the 9 princesses suddenly take out the earth spiritual milk liquid today? The value of the Shanghai pill is indeed precious, but its main function is only to increase the chance of breaking through the Shanghai realm. As for whether we can break through in the end, everything depends on own good fortune. Throughout the history of Great Chu, there is no shortage of cultivators who have eaten several Shanghai pills but still cannot break through the Shanghai realm. On the contrary, the spiritual milk liquid is a bit different. As long as you swallow it, you can instantly increase your understanding several times. During the duration of the drug effect, the cultivation of martial skill or the understanding of the world will increase geometrically. For an existence like Princess Nine, as long as she takes the underground spiritual milk liquid, although she cannot directly break through the deep sea essence. But there is a chance for her to realize the mystery of the divine sea realm, or practice martial skill. Once she understood the special features of the divine sea realm, the breakthrough became a matter of course. In her eyes, Shen Hayden is also dispensable. Even if she does not choose the mystery of the insight divine sea realm, but chooses to practice martial skill, it will have the same effect. If she increases the strongest martial skill in her hand by 1 layer, her combat power will also be improved accordingly. At that time, breaking through the divine sea realm will not be important to her. Where does the earth spiritual milk liquid in the hands of Princess Nine come from? Could it be that the original history has undergone changes that I don't know about? The mysterious figure in a black robe looked extremely calm on the surface, as if Mount Tai collapsed in front of him without changing his face. But in fact, deep in her heart, there has already been a turbulent sea, and she has been unable to calm down for a long time. Where did Princess Nine get the earth spiritual milk? The mysterious existence in black robe tried to calm down Owen's state of mind, finally raised his head, looked at the 9 princesses, and asked. This is not something that a fellow Taoist can know. The fellow Taoist only needs to know that I don't have to ask for your divine sea pill, that's enough. The 9th princess was very satisfied with the other party's reaction. She smiled and put away the ground spiritual milk. Hearing the words, the mysterious figure couldn't help but fell silent. She knew that the value of own cards was greatly reduced in the eyes of the 9 princesses because of the sudden earth spiritual milk liquid. The mysterious figure was silent for a stick of incense, and then said in a deep voice. I can give you the Shanghai pill in advance, but whether I can get it or not depends on how capable the 9th princess is. The voice fell. She gently waved her hand in the direction of Princess Nine. A jade box appeared out of nowhere and flew straight towards the 9th princess. Seeing this, the 9 princesses slightly raised the corners of their mouths, and stretched out their slender hands to catch her firmly. But as her divine sense popped up, her complexion suddenly turned cold. Because there is a kind of restrictions on this jade box that she has never seen before. As long as this restriction exists for a day, she will never be able to take out the god Hayden. What do you mean? 9th princess said with a somewhat unfriendly expression. I have given you the god Hayden as agreed. Is His Royal Highness the 9th princess going to break his promise? The mysterious figure looked calm, and said lightly. You. As soon as these words came out, Princess Nine couldn't bear it anymore. She wanted to get angry, but she finally held back. The earth spiritual milk liquid does have a chance for her to realize the mysteries of the divine sea realm, but it's hard to say how much she can understand. It's a bit of a dream to raise the martial skill in her hand with this spiritual milk alone. Therefore, before she stepped into the divine sea realm, this divine sea pill was very important to her. At the moment, if you fall out with this mysterious person, it is really an unwise choice. Thinking of this, Princess Ju suppressed the anger in her heart, and said in a cold tone. I will keep my promise and send you into the 100 Demons battlefield. Similarly, I will send someone to guard the exit of the secret realm and wait for you to come back. I hope you don't break your promise. It's best not to lie to me. If you dare to lie to me, I will definitely make you unable to get out of Wangji City. Your Highness, you can rest assured that as long as I come out of the 100 Demons battlefield, I will definitely give you the method to break the restrictions. The mysterious figure also said in a cold voice. HMPH. It's best. Ninth Princess snorted coldly, with frost on her pretty face, and left with a flick of her sleeves. The mysterious figure stood in place watching her leave. Daimei frowned slightly, and whispered. What happened to the Ninth Princess? Why does she have the spiritual milk? How did the original history change so much? Who is helping her behind the scenes? She couldn't figure it out anyway, which process had the problem. Originally, she relied on the god Hayden to completely stabilize the 9 princesses. Unexpectedly, the other party would take out the spiritual milk liquid afterwards, and almost turned her around. Fortunately, she saved a hand. Otherwise, this trip to the 100 Monsters battlefield might be suspended. Who will it be? The mysterious figure kept reviewing the memories of the previous life in his mind, trying to find the person who helped the 9 princesses. The 9th princess walked out of the secret room, with a smile on her pretty face, turned her head to look at the closed door of the secret room, and whispered softly. You are still far behind fighting Bengong. Fortunately, there is the spiritual milk from Su fellow Taoist, otherwise, I would really be under your control. Hehe, now that luck is all on my side, it's time to start taking action. My big brother, what are you going to use to fight me? The 9th princess looked at the place where the eldest prince lived, and shook her head slightly. Say it. She turned around and walked towards the own bedroom. At the same time, Su Chen has just returned to his residence and is preparing to practice. But at this moment, there was a knock on the door. Mu Qingshe asks to see you. A hesitant voice sounded outside the door. Su Chen's expression changed when he heard this. He looked at the closed door, and a smile rose from the corner of his mouth. Come in. A gentle voice came from the room. When Mu Qingshe outside the door heard the words, a hint of anxiety flashed in her lavender eyes, then she stretched out her plain white hands and pushed open the door, and walked in. As soon as she entered the door, she saw a slender young man in a purple robe standing with his hands behind his back. Brother Su Chen. Mu Qingshe spoke hesitantly. Because of Su Chen's promotion to core disciple, even if Mu Qingshe joined Taizan sect earlier than Su Chen, she still had to call him executive. Su Chen turned around, looked at her with a gentle expression, nodded slightly, pointed to the seat on one side, and said casually. Please sit down. Thank you, brother. The two sat down separately. Su Chen looked at Mu Qingshe meaningfully, and said. Tomorrow we will start to compete for the place to enter the 100 Monsters battlefield. Junior sister, if you don't prepare well, why do you come to me? Hearing this, Mu Qingshe pursed her red lips, took out a black stone, and said cautiously. I came here today to thank senior brother. Oh. Hearing this, Su Chen looked at Mu Qingshe with a strange expression. He thought that the word, thank you, would never come out of Mu Qingshui's mouth. Immediately, Su Chen looked at the stone held in Mu Qingshui's hand again, and asked with a smile. What do you want to thank me, sister? What happened in Wangji City today? Thank you brother for blocking it for me. If there is no brother to take action, Mu Qingshui's complexion was extremely complicated, she said. What happened in the 9 princesses mansion today has been completely spread in Wangji City. While marveling at Su Chen's arrogance, many also feel worthless for Su Chen. If Tai Xuanzong hadn't faced off against Wuzhizong, no matter what, as long as Su Chen was present in this trip to the 100 Demons battlefield, Tai Xuanzong would have gained a lot. But in order to protect an inner disciple, Su Chen actually put Tai Xuanzong in a very dangerous situation. This is obviously very unwise. In their eyes, Mu Qingshe is just a pretty pendant. It's hard to say whether he can enter the 100 Demons battlefield this time, but Su Chen chose to offend Situ Feng just because of such a pendant. No matter how you look at it, it is a loss-making business. They didn't know about Mu Qingshui's talent. Tai Xuanzong only publicized Su Chen's deeds, and did not choose to promote Mu Qingshe. One is to protect her. Second, if two extremely talented monsters appear one after another in Tai Xuanzong, it will definitely attract the hatred of other sects in the Great Chu territory, which is extremely unfavorable for the 100 Monsters battlefield this time. Of course, there are also many people who feel that Wuzhizong's current situation is not much better. Countless people believed that the struggle between Su Chen and Satufeng was destined to end in a loss for both sides. Once these two top Tianzhou lose both, the opportunity for others will come. While many sect disciples were discussing today's events, they all had a look of watching the show on their faces. As a disciple of Taizan sect, Mu Qingshe was one of the triggers of this incident, and she would never miss the news that caused a sensation in the whole city. After she heard what happened in the 9th princess's mansion, her heart was extremely complicated. He didn't expect that it would be Su Chen who saved him. If it weren't for Su Chen, even if she wouldn't be handed over by Tai Xuanzong, she probably would have completely missed the trip to the 100 Demons battlefield. Even for her who practiced the 3000 Qing Palace Ju, her heart was extremely complicated at the moment. It's a trivial matter, nothing to worry about. Su Chen waved his hand, looking indifferent, said. Let alone Mu Qingshe, even if it was any inner disciple of Tai Xuanzong, he would not hand it over today. Once he handed it over, it meant that he, Su Chen, had given up. This style of work will not only be looked down upon by others, but will also be despised by everyone when they return to Tai Xuanzong. For Su Chen, the impact is huge. Because his system needs others to brag sincerely. He managed to build trust with many disciples in the Taizan sect, and it was impossible for him to be broken because of this incident. Just ask, who would have full trust in a brother who would hand in someone even if he was a little intimidating? It's indeed a small matter for senior brother, but it's very important for me. With a dignified expression, Mu Qingshe dragged the black stone with both hands and handed it to Su Chen. There was a touch of radiance on her cold face, and she said, I hope the senior brother will accept this thing. I can't repay my brother's kindness to me. This is a little care. Hearing this, Su Chen frowned slightly, and glanced at the black stone dragged by Mu Qingshui's hand. This stone is only the size of a fist, and its entire body is incomparably black, so there doesn't seem to be anything unusual about it. Anyway, Su Chen didn't see anything unusual about it. Is this the stone that the Wuji sect fought with you? Su Chen looked up and down the black stone, and took it smoothly. Mu Qingshe tapped her ivory white neck and said, Today, I bought this stone on a whim. My intuition told me that there should be some kind of secret technique in it. As soon as these words came out, Mu Qingshe looked at Su Chen cautiously, as if she was afraid that he might misunderstand, and quickly said again. I don't know if there is any secret technique in it, but it's just intuition. Oh, is it so? Su Chen glanced at Mu Qingshe with a smile, and said with a little deep meaning. It is a bit too mysterious to be able to determine what is in the stone just by intuition. At this moment, Su Chen already had a new view of Mu Qingshe in his heart. He pondered for a moment. Su Chen forced out a drop of blood essence and dropped it on the black stone. The moment blood essence landed on it, a flood of information rushed into his mind. This is a scripture called Burning Blood Secret Technique. The scripture is very short, only a few thousand words, but its grade is the top grade of mysterious rank. Su Chen skimmed through the content, and immediately understood it. The content here is no different from what Mu Qingshe said, there is indeed a secret technique. Mystery is different from martial skill and cultivation technique. There is no such thing as initiation, small success, great completion, and return to origin for secret techniques. As long as they are learned, they can be used. The Burning Blood secret technique belongs to the secret technique of enhancing strength. Once the Qi Gathering realm is activated, it can instantly increase a large realm, and the increase in the Qi Si realm will be weakened, and only 2 to 3 small realms can be enhanced at most at a time. After reaching the Altar realm, it doesn't have much effect, at most it can only increase a little bit of strength, not even a small realm can be improved. The Burning Blood secret technique can only last for 1 hour each time. Once the time passes, the secret technique will be completely ineffective, and the user will be weak for a whole day. Of course, if there is a recovery medicine pill to help, this time can be greatly shortened. After reading the scriptures, Su Chen shook his head slightly. He is already Qi Si realm 8th stage, this kind of secret technique is of no use to him. However, it would be different if this secret technique came into Mu Qingshui's hands. She is only Qi Si realm 3rd stage now, but if she activates the Burning Blood secret art, her strength will instantly skyrocket to Qi Si realm 4th and 5th stage. With her aptitude, below the middle stage of the altar, she can almost block and kill gods and Buddhas. Junior sister. Su Chen looked at Mu Qingshe, and said with a light smile, there is indeed a secret technique in this stone, I have already seen it. When Mu Qingshe heard this, a strange color flashed in her lavender eyes, and she said, brother, are you satisfied? Su Chen confronted Situ Feng in the mansion of the 9th princess today. Mu Qingshe always repays kindness, she doesn't like to owe others. Mu Qingshe naturally wanted to repay such kindness. But unfortunately, she didn't know what to repay. After all, she can't repay with the cultivation technique in master's hands. After thinking about it, Mu Qingshe felt that this black stone was actually something she could afford now. Su Chen shook his head slightly. Seeing this, Mu Qingshe frowned slightly. Is it because the secret technique is too bad, Su Chen doesn't like it? There is a secret technique in this stone, but this secret technique is of little use to me. I think it is more suitable for you, at least it is suitable for you before the altar stage. Su Chen said with a smile. When Mu Qingshe heard this, a look of disappointment flashed in her beautiful lavender eyes. I know that junior sister wants to repay today's favor, but the future will be long, and maybe one day I will need your help. I hope junior sister will not refuse. Su Chen caught the flash of disappointment in Mu Qingshui's beautiful eyes, so he raised his hand and patted Mu Qingshui's shoulder, and comforted him. Mu Qingshui's delicate body trembled, she raised her head, and looked at Su Chen who was exuding unparalleled charm in shock. He, just shot yourself. At this time, Su Chen also realized that his actions just now were a bit ambiguous, so he quickly withdrew his hand, took a sip of the tea on the table, and looked elsewhere. I will return this stone to its original owner. Take it back and practice hard. It may help you in tomorrow's competition. Su Chen waved lightly. The black stone flew to Mu Qingshe in an instant, floating in the air. The burning blood secret technique will indeed help Mu Qingshe in tomorrow's competition. The people who came to Wangji City this time are all the top disciples of sect, each of whom has the ability to leapfrog battles. And most of them are around Qi Si Realm 5th stage, only a small part is Qi Si Realm 3rd stage. When Mu Qingshe faced the disciples of the Qi Si Realm 3rd stage, it was naturally the result of an instant kill. But it's hard to say to those Qi Si Realm 5th stage disciples, after all, they can also leapfrog the enemy. Mu Qingshui's advantage is very small. If she has the burning blood secret technique, she can be on the same starting line as those Qi Si Realm 5th stage disciples. The mysteries recorded in this stone are not disposable. As long as this stone exists, the secret technique inside will not dissipate. This, brother, isn't this bad? Mu Qingshe looked at the black stone in front of her, a look of embarrassment flashed across her pretty face. I just clearly gave this stone to Su Chen. But in the blink of an eye, Su Chen returned the stone to himself. On the surface, he was repaying his kindness, but actually he was repaying his loneliness. Well, there is almost no difference between reporting and not reporting. In the end, the stone returned to own hands. Thinking of this, Mu Qingshe raised her plain jade hand, and put the black stone into the storage ring. What's wrong with that? Su Chen frowned, and said in a serious tone. Junior sister gave me this stone just now, which proves that this stone is already my property. It's normal for me as a senior to give it to my junior sister now. No, brother, I didn't mean that. Mu Qingshe shook her head lightly, wanting to say something more. But Su Chen didn't give her a chance to speak at all, he just waved his hand and said. It's getting late, junior sister should go back early to rest. Oh, by the way, you must be careful with the disciples of the Promise sect and the Xuanming sect in the competition tomorrow. When it came to the end, Su Chen's tone was a bit serious. Although he is not afraid of Situ Feng and others, it does not mean that the disciples of Tai Xuanzong are not afraid. If you are not prepared and confront them rashly, you may suffer a big loss. Understood, Mu Qingshe said with a helpless expression. Brother, let's rest earlier, I'll take my leave first. Good. Su Chen nodded slightly, then seemed to think of something, and said again. By the way, tell others what I just said, and tell them to be careful with the disciples of the Promise sect and Xuanming sect. Okay, I'll pass it on later. Mu Qingshe nodded slightly, and after taking a deep look at Su Chen with her lavender eyes, she exited Su Chen's residence. Come to the door. Mu Qingshe took a deep breath, took out the black stone from the storage ring, and set her beautiful eyes on it. For a while, my heart was extremely complicated. I didn't expect Brother Su Chen to be so kind. The voice just fell. An old female voice sounded in her mind. Pay attention to your state of mind. Then, the old female voice spoke again, with emotion in her tone, said, "It's hard to find a kind-hearted person like Su Chen. She was powerful during her lifetime, and she had been in the cultivation world for many years, and she could be considered to know countless people, and she had seen countless infighting and intrigue. But she has never seen such a kind-hearted existence like Su Chen. Seeing it now, even she is deeply moved. If I had such a friend back then, how could I have fallen into such a situation? The Promise Sect, tomorrow's competition, we will wait and see." Mu Qingshui's lavender eyes looked in the direction of Wu Zhizong, and murmured in a low voice. "By the way, Master, will the number 1 in the 100 Demons battlefield be rewarded with a top-grade cultivation technique?" Mu Qingshui seemed to have thought of something. A bright light flashed in her lavender eyes, and she asked. "That's right, if you win the leader, the royal family of Great Chu will reward you with a top-grade cultivation technique." The old female voice said slowly. "She originally wanted to say that your main goal is to gain a place in the secret realm. As for the ranking, she has no hope. First, Mu Qingshui's physique has not really awakened yet. Second, the participants this time are all the top talents in the Great Chu dynasty. Most of them are cultivators of the Qi realm 5th stage, and everyone has their cards in their hands. With Mu Qingshui's current strength, it would be difficult to win the first place." Soon, a divine sense probed into the black stone in Mu Qingshui's hand. The old female voice in Mu Qingshui's mind suddenly fell silent. I don't know how long it was silent, and then the old female voice spoke slowly. "Perhaps, should, probably, maybe, you have a chance to win the first place." Just now she was very puzzled why Su Chen returned the stone to Mu Qingshui. At this moment, she finally understood. With the existence of the secret method in this stone, it would be no difficulty for Mu Qingshui to be the first. The next day, the sun rises in the east, and 3,000 purple air shines on Wangji City. As the sun rose, the entire Wangji City also boiled. Countless crowds flocked to the west of the city. In the center of the west of the city, there are 2 mountain peaks. Each mountain peak is thousands of feet high. The mountain peak soars into the sky, like 2 sharp swords pierced in the west of the city. It is said, these 2 peaks were originally the same mountain, and later a prince of the Great Chu dynasty split it with a big supernatural power, and used it for trials. At the moment, formation has been planted on these 2 peaks. All kinds of mysterious runes looming in the void, filled with a terrifying coercion, making people tremble. The mountain on the left is already covered with crowds. The outermost perimeter was surrounded by countless soldiers. Inside is a few 10,000-year young people. Each of them was in high spirits, standing in front of the cliff, eager to try. The content of the first level is very simple. As long as you fly from one mountain to another, you will pass the level. Only when we reach another mountain, can we have the qualification to continue the competition. A disciple of the Spirit Sword sect stood in the crowd, looking at the opposite cliff and introduced. Competitions like this have been held many times in the Great Chu dynasty in previous years. It is said that such a rule has continued for several years. Anyone who has a little knowledge of the history of Dachu probably knows this rule. This is actually to eliminate everyone faster. There are quite a few 10,000-year young people present. There are not only the arrogants of various sects here, but also the disciples of the great officials and dignitaries of the Great Chu dynasty. If you let them compete one by one, it is estimated that it will take a long time. Therefore, the Great Chu dynasty established this rule to eliminate some lucky people more quickly. There is a formation in the valley. Although the 2 peaks are not far away, it is quite difficult to fly over. In the last competition, there were 30,000 people participating, but this first level alone has cleared nearly 2/3. A young man who knew about previous competitions spoke worriedly. Especially some cultivators of Qi realm 3rd stage. Their spirit power is not as powerful as Qi realm 4 and 5th stage cultivator, and with the formation in the valley, the chance of them wanting to fly over is almost negligible. Master, can you see the formation in this valley? Mu Qingshui stood alone not far away, ignoring the fiery gazes of everyone around her, and asked softly in her heart. There is nothing tyrannical about a primary trapping formation, and there is nothing to worry about if you have a teacher. That old female voice sounded in Mu Qingshui's mind. Avoid formation. Mu Qingshui nodded slightly when she heard the words. She had learned about this formation in the Buddhist scripture pavilion, and it wasn't very powerful. At most, it is the heavy strength hundreds of times more than the people caught in the formation. If it is placed on a normal day, this kind of tasteless formation is simply impossible to appear. But today, for those of them participating in the competition, it is almost a fatal existence. Once the strength on the body is increased, the spirit power in the body will be accelerated. If one is not careful and does not control the elapsed speed of the spirit power in the body, I am afraid that it will fall instantly. Yo, where did this beautiful woman come from? This girl has a good figure. Hey, isn't this Mu Qingshui, the ice beauty of Tai Xuanzong? Quote. Just when Mu Qingshui was thinking about the trap, several sarcastic voices suddenly came to mind. When Mu Qingshui heard this, her eyebrows frowned slightly, and she turned to look. I see. Several youths dressed in the costumes of Wuji sect disciples were walking towards her, looking her up and down without any fear. Their eyes were fiery. Hey, why is the ice beauty's face a little bit bad? Can't she be frightened by us? Or are you scared by this valley? That's right, it's impossible to pass this level with your Qi Si Realm 3rd stage's cultivation base. Why don't you quit Taizan sect, come to my Wuji sect, sleep with me for one night, and I will use demonic beasts to take you there. Ha, the ice beauty who was so beautiful yesterday will be frightened by a valley. If you want me to say, this Taizan sect is still not good, no Tathagata, our Wuji sect, sleep with our brothers for one night. All kinds of foul language came. Yesterday, Mu Qingshui defeated several Wuji sect disciples by herself. The reputation of Mu Qingshui and Wuji sect instantly became popular in the entire Wangji city, and the whole city was discussing this matter. The disciples of the Promise sect felt that they were lackluster, so they went to find their number one pride in the Promise sect, Situ Feng. Prepare to let him help find the place. But in the end, not only did Situ Feng not help to get back the place, but he also hit a wall with Su Chen. This made many disciples of the Promise sect very annoyed. Naturally, they would not dare to challenge Su Chen. After all, Su Chen's reputation and strength are there. A Tianzhao who stepped into the taboo realm in the Qi gathering realm, his combat power is naturally beyond doubt. They were afraid of dying in Su Chen's hands. But Mu Qingshui was different. Although Mu Qingshui's battle strength was heaven-defying, they thought it was okay to humiliate her with words. Today is different. Today is Dabi's day. Once on the stage, they can use their demonic beasts to fight. At that time, their combat power will also be greatly improved, and Mu Qingshui will not be able to make any waves at all. A mere Qi Si Realm 3rd stage, could it beat their Promise sect disciples with demonic beasts? Do you trash think yesterday's lesson is not enough? Mu Qingshui glanced at the few people in front of her coldly, and said. You wanna die. As soon as the words came out, the leading disciple of the Qi Si Realm 6th stage suddenly turned gloomy and stared at Mu Qingshui. What happened yesterday was simply a disgrace to them. Don't think that Tai Xuanzong can be unscrupulous with Su Chen. Su Chen can't protect you forever. Without Su Chen's protection, you are just a little sheep in our eyes. You can be abused at will. Give you a chance, sleep with me for one night, maybe I can consider letting you live. Accompanied by his voice fell. The faces of the disciples standing behind him suddenly showed complacent expressions. From their point of view, Mu Qingshui was seeking her own death. Without Su Chen on the competition stage, it is impossible to protect Mu Qingshui. See the truth on the test stage. Mu Qingshui said lightly. He. A Wuji sect disciple heard the words, sneered, showed a playful expression, and said. Okay, we'll be waiting for you on the opposite side. You'd better pass the first level. I hope you won't let me down on the competition stage. Talking. A cold smile appeared on that disciple's face. There was an undisguised killing intent in the smile, which made people tremble involuntarily. Immediately, with a big wave of his hand, a demonic beast several meters tall appeared behind him in an instant. He leapt, jumped onto the back of demonic beasts, and proudly steered demonic beasts towards the opposite mountain peak. The whole person looks very relaxed, and the formation between the valleys does not seem to hinder him in any way. I thought it was so difficult, but it turned out to be so easy. Seeing this, the others were eager to try. At this moment, there was a buzzing sound in the void. Immediately afterwards, a young man from the Chi-Si realm 5th stage was controlling a long sword, imitating the Promise Sect disciple just now and flying towards the opposite mountain. But when he flew to the middle of the two peaks, a heavy distance suddenly came from the depths of the valley. I see. His whole body seemed to be struck by lightning, and he fell straight down the valley. For a while, everyone who was eager to try fell silent. The cultivators of the Chi-Si realm 5th stage are at risk of falling, so how should the disciples of the Chi-Si realm 3rd stage face it? The mountain on the opposite side had already been flattened, and the royal family of Great Chu had already set up a trial arena on the top of the mountain, a total of 450 people. In mid-air, two high platforms emerged. On the right is a high platform, the whole body is carved from white jade. The people sitting upright on it are undoubtedly not representatives of the various forces of the Great Chu dynasty. The Great Chu royal family also sent a prince this time, which shows how much the Great Chu royal family attaches importance to this trial. Another stand is filled with dozens of young disciples. These people are the leading disciples of various forces, so they don't need to participate in the competition. Su Chen is among them. Seeing the disciples of the Promise Sect taking the lead and rushing across the valley first, someone sighed in the stands where the young Tianzhao were. The disciples of the beast monitoring lineage of the Wuji sect are still very good. I didn't expect to be the first to rush over. It's not quite right. You can see that he seems to be able to do a job with ease. He really has the posture of being the first in the trial. Fellow Taoist praises. Situ Feng glanced at the Wuji sect disciple who was the first to rush over with a calm expression, and said, I have a little impression of this junior brother. Looking at the Wuji sect, he can also be ranked in the top 10. Top 10. When everyone heard the words, they all looked at each other, and they all saw the seriousness in each other's eyes. Such a tyrannical disciple can only be ranked in the top 10 among the younger generation of the Wuji sect. It's hard to imagine, what kind of demeanor should the disciples before him be? It seems that in this big competition, the first place will fall into the hands of Wujizong. Zan Yun will congratulate brother Situ in advance. Ji Yu Xuanyan of Xuanmingzong was dressed in a black robe, looking at Situ Feng with a flattering expression. Say it. He looked at Su Chen not far away who was closing his eyes and meditating. Yin and Yang said strangely. Hey, brother Su Chen, why are you disciples of the Taizan sect so slow? Could it be that no one is sure to cross the valley? No way, no way. The majestic Tai Xuanzong, there has been a genius who killed dark creatures, but no one is sure to cross the valley. Tisk tisk tisk. It seems that Tai Xuanzong is just a show. There are not many Tianzhao, but the lip service is better than the other. As soon as the words came out, everyone looked at the opposite mountain. At this moment, at the edge of the cliff, 50 disciples of Tai Xuanzong hugged together, but none of them had the intention of crossing the mountain. Maybe they want to preserve their strength. The neutral sect Tianzhao saw that the atmosphere in the field was not right, so he quickly opened his mouth to smooth things over. Hee. However, Ji Yu Xuanyan sneered when he heard the words, and continued. Yin and Yang said strangely. Sooner or later, you have to live. How can you save your strength? In my opinion, Tai Xuanzong is afraid of losing face, and this group of disciples have no strength. You will die if you don't speak. Ji Yu Xuanyan hadn't finished speaking yet. Su Chen, who was resting with his eyes closed, suddenly opened his eyes and glanced at Ji Yu Xuanyan. Two divine lights burst out from his eyes, shooting towards Ji Yu Xuanyan like two peerless sharp swords. Call out. At the same time, there was a piercing sound in the void. Ji Yu Xuanyan's expression changed suddenly, and he quickly hid aside. But in his heart at the moment, he was extremely horrified. He didn't expect that Su Chen would dare to do anything to himself at this time. How dare he? Doesn't he know that the prince of the Great Chu dynasty is not far away? But Ji Yu Xuanyan didn't have time to think about it. Because, Shenmang had already arrived in front of him. Two divine lights completely blocked his escape route. Ji Xuanyan's originally raised leg could only be forced down, and he raised his hand to resist Su Chen's attack. After all, Su Chen is famous. Although it is not known whether he really killed dark creatures, it is a fact that he stepped into the forbidden realm in the Qi-gathering realm. No one of the younger generation present dared to underestimate such a random strike. Boom! Ji Xuanyan put his 5 fingers together, and nervously grabbed the Shenmeng who was attacking him. However, the horrible scene as imagined did not appear. The moment the divine light touched his finger, it turned into pure spirit power and dissipated between heaven and earth. On the contrary, his hands suddenly grabbed into the void, making loud noises. Quote question mark question mark question mark quote. Am I being tricked? Ji Xuanyan quickly realized that his face turned blue and turned white. Anyone who is teased for no reason will not look good. After all, not only the peers of the same generation were present, but also the elders of the major sects and a prince of the great Chu dynasty. If there is no accident, I am afraid that these people have seen my performance just now. Su Chen just had a look in his eyes, and he had to use all his strength to deal with it. If he really makes a move, that's all. But he was just playing with himself. Not only did he fail to see the reality, but he also responded with all his strength. The entire face of Zanmingzong was completely lost the moment he stood up to deal with it. Su, dust. Ji Xuanyan clenched his teeth and said 2 cold words from between his teeth. At this moment, he was already extremely angry. Even more angry than Situ Feng yesterday. Because, Situ Feng just didn't find his way back yesterday. But he was played like a monkey by Su Chen. Ji Xuanyan's blood surged up, his face flushed red. Why, do you want to compete with me? I'm extremely happy. Anyway, there are still many vacancies in the arena over there. I don't mind helping them warm up the field, how about you? With a faint smile on the corner of Su Chen's mouth, he said. Regarding today's competition, he did not panic at all. Because of Mu Qingshe, Tai Xuanzong will definitely be number 1. There may be some twists and turns in the middle process, but the final result has been determined. Su Chen didn't want to come to watch, but Van Elder made it necessary for him to be there. In desperation, Su Chen had no choice but to come over patiently, and was going to sit here for a whole day, practicing Tianyan Shenju, just going through the motions. He wanted to practice quietly, but Ji Xuanyan didn't think so. Ji Xuanyan provoked again and again. If he didn't express it, then Tai Xuanzong's face would be completely trampled under his feet by Ji Xuanyan. Snort. Ji Xuanyan snorted coldly. He looked at Situ Feng with an indifferent expression, who seemed to be ignorant of all this. As long as he suppressed the anger in his heart, he threatened. Su Chen, don't be too rampant. He didn't have Situ Feng's strength and confidence, so he had no choice but to threaten him. As for hands, do not make jokes. Su Chen is a peerless evildoer who stepped into the forbidden realm in the Qi-gathering realm. And his cultivation base is completely derived from taking drugs. Bullying realm who is lower than him can be said to be easy. But if it is said that Su Chen is compared with such a talented person, then he absolutely dare not. After all, there is more than one level of difference between the two. Hehe, Zanmingzong is nothing more than that, and it's just a good mouth. Seeing this, Su Chen sneered and said with disdain. It is impossible for him to let Ji Xuanyan go easily. Moreover, in this situation, he can use the system to improve his own strength. As soon as these words came out, they immediately attracted everyone's attention. Su Chen's words didn't shy away from everyone present. This was no longer aimed at Ji Xuanyan alone, but trampled on the entire Xuanmingzong. It is estimated that someone in the other stand will not be able to sit still, right? Think here. Everyone turned their eyes to another stand. Sure enough, they didn't expect it. On the stand, there was a gray-haired old man blowing his beard and staring at him angrily. This person is none other than Xuanmingzong's accompanying elder this time. You, Su Chen, one day, I will definitely make you pay for today's words. Ji Xuanyan clenched his fists tightly, his face flushed, and he looked at Su Chen with scarlet eyes and said a harsh word. Afterwards, he came to the other end of the lotus position and sat down on his own. Oh, I just know how to move my mouth. Seeing this, Su Chen knew that his own plan was about to fail, so he shook his head helplessly and made a sarcasm. Time flies. Soon, an hour passed. Originally a team of tens of thousands of people, after the first round of screening in the valley, only less than 3,000 people remained. The elimination rate is almost beyond everyone's imagination. In many sects, nearly half of the disciples fell to the bottom. Even the Promise sect with demonic beasts had several disciples who did not come. One can imagine how cruel this level is. Tai Xuanzong's situation wasn't great, but it wasn't bad either. 50 people, 31 disciples came. When Mu Qingshe crossed the valley, there was a commotion. Because she is the only Qi Si Realm 3rd stage cultivation-based disciple who successfully crossed the valley. Although she successfully crossed the valley, but in the eyes of everyone, her journey has come to an end. Randomly selected one present is the cultivator of Qi Si Realm 4 and 5th stage, and it is impossible for Qi Si Realm 3rd stage to defeat these arrogants by herself. Even if you can get away with winning a game, it is impossible to continue winning streak. Thanks for watching, please like and subscribe.